I just want to go back to when Josh was saying if you keep about, feeling the same emotion, and you're saying your soul's got to expand to feel it some more. So if you're feeling the same emotion all the time, how do you know that it's your soul expanding rather than you feeling a self-deception emotion?
Well, if you're feeling a self-deception emotion, your law of attraction won't change. So you know straight away when you're feeling self-deception emotion. So if I feel an emotion today, my law of attraction doesn't change, I feel the emotion tomorrow, my law of attraction doesn't change, then obviously I'm still in the self-deception place. When I feel even one little part of my causal emotion, the law of attraction will change. And it will only change in the facet in which I've dealt with it. So you might deal with the emotion of unworthiness, but it might be unworthiness in a particular situation that you're dealing with, and you'll find that situation is no longer attracted to you anymore. So, for instance, you might have a feeling of unworthiness that's attracted while you're driving a car, where people treat you as if they haven't seen you all the time, right? You deal with that emotion, and then when you're driving a car, everybody seems to notice where you are and nobody tries to run you over or anything. So you've dealt with that particular facet of that unworthiness. But let's say you have unworthiness about being a woman sexually. Then that is still going to be kept being triggered, even though you've dealt with the other emotion. And so every emotion has its own particular nuance. It has its own particular flavour that was created by its own particular set of events. And we need to be patient with ourselves when we're dealing with emotions. But understand that our law of attraction will automatically change every single time I deal with a facet of the emotion. The key is to notice what's happening in our lives. Now, what I've found in myself is that I've had my law of attraction change in little area here, but not in that area there. Little area here, not in that area there. And I've had to take notice of that to see what I'm denying and to see what I'm actually trying to shut down inside of myself. And every single time I've found I'm shutting something down, or something about that flavour of that emotion that I'm still not willing to experience. In other words, there was something about the flavour of the emotion that I was blocking. So I felt one part of it because I could allow it, but I'm not feeling the other part of it because I couldn't allow it. And you need to be patient with that. Many of you still expect to be able to get this unworthy emotion, for example, and pop it out of you like a baby, right? And it's all gone, right? And it's not like that. Because the unworthy emotion inside of you was created by so many different events and so many different situations, which every situation had a suppressed emotion attached to it, and also happened with so many different genders and so many different ages of people, and there's all these different creations, you see. And so your unworthy emotion might in itself have lots and lots of facets. But if you're humble and appreciate your law of attraction and love your law of attraction, love yourself, in other words, you'll find that all of them will be exposed in time. And part of loving yourself is being patient with yourself. So be patient with the process. You see, when many of us have a causal emotion of, you've got to fix things today. If you haven't fixed it today, you're no good, you're useless, and how many times have you had that emotion dumped on you in your life? And that emotion we often are dumping on ourselves almost constantly when we're on the divine love path. So what we need to do is have more love of ourselves and allow ourselves to see all these beautiful things happening as accessing our causal emotion, but be patient with yourself. I'll give you another example. Sorry, I'm not going to ask questions just yet because we're going to break in a second, but I want to give you another example before the break. Very recently, well, for the last 6 years in fact, I have an allergic reaction to kiwi fruit. Before 6 years ago, I could eat kiwi fruit to my delight, as much as I wanted. And I could eat them one after the other. In fact, I used to cut up 10 or so and have them for breakfast. And then, as soon as I found out who I was, for some reason I can't eat kiwi fruit anymore. And be blowed if I can find out the reason why. I've got no idea why this kiwi fruit thing going on. I used to love kiwi fruit, and kiwi fruit were great. But what happens in me now is I just have to have one piece of kiwi fruit, and I get this air compression thing happen inside of my gullet that feels like my gullet's going to burst open, right? And all this wind just gets trapped in there. My throat all constricts, all these muscles all through here all just constrict. Like I imagine a lot of people must feel when they eat nuts or something like that. And all this in here, this never happened to me before. All this in here constricts and everything. And there's this terrible pressure in here, and it feels like I'm going to burst in half here. Like it's just a very, very painful experience. Every single time I accidentally eat a kiwi fruit, this happens. So on our trip away, this happened because I had some fruit salad and there was little pieces of kiwi fruit. I thought, she'll be right, I would have dealt with this emotion by now. All right, and away I go. And within about 2 minutes I was in this state, which I stayed in for nearly 2 hours. Now, I haven't found the causal emotion for that. If anybody's got any suggestions, I'd be very happy to hear them. I've got no idea why this has happened. And it's only happened with kiwi fruit, and there must be some connection emotionally that's occurred, that's happened, that's changed in the last 6 years ago. And I've got no idea what it is.
I know what it is.
You know what it is?
Yeah, you need to speak to Kiwis.
Need to speak to Kiwis. How many? There's a lot of Kiwis in the audience, isn't there? Yeah, there's quite a few. I speak to you, don't I? I don't think it's about that. There's something related to this emotion about who I am, and it's being reflected there. And I don't know why it's got to do with kiwi fruit and nothing else. But kiwi fruit guaranteed causes this. Baijiu, other food causes this when I'm talking about. If I'm talking about my life in the first century or anything like that, while I'm eating, I automatically get the same problem. But kiwi fruit, so I understand that linkage, but kiwi fruit causes it immediately. What's the first linkage?
Yeah, when you eat life.
Well, with kiwi fruit, there's no conscious, what I would call conscious linkage. And this is the thing that you'll find at times with your own processing. You just get so frustrated. What's the conscious linkage here? I just got no idea what it is. So what I've had to do myself is I've had to be patient about the issue. I've had to just allow myself to just keep pondering about it. I'm praying about it quite a lot and pondering about it, and sooner or later I know I'll get to the result. But do you know what the problem really is? The problem really is that I must have a pretty big block to finding out what it's all about. Because it's been happening for 6 years and I still haven't found out what it's about. So the issue is actually that I have an emotional blockage towards really finding out about it, and I probably don't really want to know what it's about. Does that make sense? Sorry? Did someone throw them at me? Not recently. Kiwi fruits in the first. No, I don't think. I've thought about that, but we didn't have them then, I'm pretty sure. So I've still got no idea what it is.
When you first said that I found out more about it.
Can you say it into the microphone, please? Thank you. Sorry, it's just that we want to record these things.
A little earlier you said, when I first realised who I was or found myself, it's 6 years that you've been getting this reaction.
That's right. There's a linkage there somewhere.
There is a linkage, maybe, that you were overindulging, or that there was something about the kiwi fruit that may have made you choke or whatever at the same time, because you said you're getting the same pain about the first century.
Yep. It's always about that, so I know that.
So what at the same time occurred to do with kiwi fruit?
I don't know.
Because the same reaction's coming up. But those two are definitely linked.
Definitely. I know that for certain.
And they're obviously linked from that very early stage. It will be one day early in that stage that they're linked, surely.
Exactly. But I don't know what it is.
But it doesn't have to be anger, fear, terror, whatever. It may just be that time and that connection that it was because of the first century you got the pain, not because of the kiwi fruit. You blame the kiwi fruit and it keeps happening with the kiwi fruit. Would you agree that may be the case?
I believe anything may be the case. I just haven't found what it is. No, the issue for me is, with all of these things, you see, it's all emotional, right? So I can do all of this intellectual stuff, right, which I have done, trust me. And I've done all of this stuff, exactly what you've just done with me, right, I've done to myself. over and over again, trying to work out what it's all about. I've had chats with Mary about what it's all about and whatever else. But at the end of the day, I still haven't found the answer. So do I want the answer? No. So this is the thing I've got to realise. I'm not loving myself here because I don't want the answer. And I've got to work my way through this issue until I love myself enough to know this answer, whatever that is. And when you do that, you will then find the answer and the emotion will flow shortly after. I know it's a fairly big emotion because this constriction of all this stuff here is all about holding on to grief, right? That's what happens. When you go to a funeral, many of you have gone to a funeral and have been like a friend or a best friend or a child or a parent or something like that, you know when you try to suppress your grief, you get all this terrible pain all the way through here, don't you? And all this you notice that? Like this terrible pain all through your jaw and everything when you're trying to keep it down. That's the kind of pain that I get when I eat kiwi fruit. So I know that it's to do with some big grief somehow, but I've still not discovered what it's all about. Because there must be some big thing in me about being frightened about what it's all about, which I need to deal with.